As common as it may be, death is a complex and painful matter for adults, and for children, it can be very upsetting and confusing, especially when they experience it for the first time. In today's video, I want to help you support your children through a loss of a loved one or a pet, as well as highlight what you can expect as they grieve. Greetings, I'm Conscious Togo, and I am a conscious parenting coach, and welcome to our conscious parenting platform. To start us off, I want us to have an understanding of the difference between loss and grief. People's psychology is affected significantly by loss and grief. When we speak of loss, we are speaking about something that could come back, whilst when we speak about grief, we are talking about something that is permanent, such as the loss of a loved one. The challenging part of working through grief is that you have to get to not only realizing, but you have to accept that this person is no longer coming back. So, to move us forward, I want to then dig deep into how do children grieve. Age and life experiences play a huge role in how children react to the loss, right? All children are different, and there are a number of age-related reactions that you can expect from children. So for young children under the age of 5, they are yet to understand the permanency of death. So from time to time, they will ask you about the person, and they will ask you if whether or not this person is coming back. You may notice a change in behavior, such as being clingy towards the caretaker, or a change in behavior such as wetting the bed. These are common changes, and over time, as they get to process the news, they will stop. For children who are older, so this would be between the ages 6 and 11, this is a stage where they start to understand the concept, and they also understand that it is a forever thing. Because they now understand the concept, they then get to worry about whether this is going to happen to their loved ones who are remaining. They also want to understand what happened, and they do this by asking a lot of questions. Their reaction may be of anger, and they experience pain physically. For children who are then older, so this would be adolescents and younger teenagers from the ages of 12, they recognize that death happens to everyone and that it is irreversible. They are keen on understanding as to why things happen the way they do, and their reaction would pretty much vary. So sometimes they would experience extreme sadness and poor concentration to empathy and anger. So special to note is that there is no one way or correct way of grieving. Several factors influence how children react to death. So you'd need to consider their age, you'd need to consider the relationship they had with this person, you need to consider their intellectual capacity. You also need to consider what culture says about death, as well as what society says about death, and also the reaction or response of other family members. Part of the process is having to deliver the news to your children or your loved ones. And so this next point is basically guiding you through how you can deliver the news to the loved one. As hard as it may be, this is a moment that truly requires you to be truthful as soon as possible. Your intentions to protect your child may be good, but at this point, you would need to be honest about the situation, and therefore, honesty becomes the best policy. Sharing details of what happened increases the level of trust your child has in you, but it also then helps them to process and cope with the loss in a much better way. So you want to create a safe and comfortable environment to talk to your child about the news, and also for yourself to think through how you are going to approach your child. For comfort, provide your child with their favorite toy or their favorite object that they can hold on to. And you want to take your time with the conversation. So you would probably be required to pause frequently so that you allow your child the time to process the news, but then you're allowing yourself as well to manage your emotions. At this point, as you are delivering the news, you want to avoid euphemism. So words like "we lost someone" cause confusion. So what you should do instead is, in a warm manner, approach your child, tell them that you have some sad or bad news that you want to share, and be direct. We lost your uncle, not we lost your uncle. Your uncle has died. And this means their body is no longer working. And because of that, we won't see this person any longer. It can be challenging for us as parents to use direct language, but then this is a moment that requires for us to be honest and to be transparent. So you also want to grant your child time to process the news. And as they do that, you might notice that they might appear to be not interested in what you're saying. And so then you need to give them time to process the news, and then wait until you get their attention, and then prepare to be asked questions over and over again about the situation or about what you've just shared. Depending on how the death might have occurred, there is what we call magical thinking that happens in children. And this is where children think that something they said or something that they did is the reason for the death of the loved one. So they might want to blame themselves. And so if you recognize that your child is getting into the magical thinking, you want to explain things in a simple manner in terms of what happened, but then you also want to reassure them that they are not to be blamed. Along with the process, because of just how emotionally intense things are, there's often a question of, is it okay to grieve in front of my child? So you could be asking yourself if it's okay for you to grieve in front of your child. And simply, the answer to that is showing emotions is perfectly okay and it is normal. The only caution is try not to alarm your child with your reaction. So crying and being sad, these are honest emotions that reassure them that it is okay to show and express feelings. And this also encourages them to be in tune with their feelings. So it's okay to not be okay about the situation. How can you help your child cope with grief? There are different spiritual beliefs and cultural practices, and often there are leaders and elders that you can refer to for support and people who can provide you with the comfort that you need. So I highly recommend that you reach out to whatever outlet that you believe in. What helps children and parents come to terms with losing a loved one is going through the mourning process. Find appropriate ways to involve your children in the process so that they get to learn and accept that they will no longer see this person, but then they will also get to celebrate and pretty much say goodbye to their loved one. You can also show the love that you had for this person and how significant they were to you by way of commemoration. Keep the communication line open through song, through painting a picture, poetry, or honoring them in things that you used to do together. And lastly, what I want to leave you with is do not neglect your mental health. Try by all means to take care of your mental health as well as your child's mental health. And you can do this by, as far as possible, sticking to what used to work. So not introducing a lot of new changes unless where it's necessary because there's been a break in routine. However, things that you used to do before, stick to those, rest as often as you can, and reassure your children that this is a process that will be hard, but it will pass and you will overcome.